Okay, so first of all, welcome to you, and welcome to you and you. Tonight's learning is generously sponsored by DJ Acquisitions and the Socialized sponsorship for the Refuah Shalema of Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatya and Devorah Fega bat Rezel. Tonight's class is called The Torah's Opinion on Socialized Healthcare. So actually, like my brother from another mother, Tzvi Doron, mentioned to me today, he's like, I think that's a very easy way to get more listeners and make sure that everybody hates you. So really, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? My wife asked me that. She's like, why? Why would you talk about that? You're walking into a meat grinder. Because well, yeah, that's basically the answer. So I think that the idea behind that question is the same as people say, don't talk religion or politics with people. Don't do that. Why? Well, because they feel very strongly about it, and they might get angry at what you're saying, and therefore you shouldn't discuss it, right? Which makes a lot of sense. Don't discuss things with people that are very meaningful to them. What you should do is avoid those topics and only talk about things that don't matter to people, because that will fix the world and solve all the problems. I find that foolish, like incredibly, incredibly foolish. I think that when you avoid talking about things that you feel strongly about, you're not going to help yourself. You're going to live in a little, hall of mirrors, or an echo chamber. But generally, discussing things in a respectful way and broadening a person's perspective are good things. So we're going to talk about it, and that doesn't mean that that I'm going to be right about everything I say. Heck, I might be wrong about everything that I'm going to say. But I'm going to try to share with you what my honest opinions are. That's it. Now, today, we're going to do something a little bit different for our online audience. I have the Facebook up right here in front of me on my computer, and I'm going to try very hard to notice any questions, comments, arguments that come up on the feed. So we generally don't answer those until after, but I'm going to try diligently to respond to them. And we're going to give people, the microphone, so to speak. Now, final disclaimer. If you watch like 5 minutes, why is that paused? 1 second. Oh, poor wireless connection. That's terrible. Now, if you watch 5 minutes of the class today, just like a little snippet of 5 minutes, I can pretty much guarantee you that I'm going to say something that will piss you off. Guaranteed. But if you watch the entire talk, start to finish, then I can pretty much guarantee you that I'm going to say something that will piss you off. It's a fact. So what I'm planning on doing in this order, I would like to take two different views of healthcare that have been floating around the political system for a while now. The two ones that I find to be most reasonable. Again, it's an opinion. It's an opinion. Why is the Wi-Fi so bad? Poor wireless connection.
Hotspot.
Yeah, but it says here that I have it. Pardon me for 1 second. This is going to be an absolute. No, this is not good. I'm going to do the other Wi-Fi. I'm so sorry. Give me but a moment. Chris, can you get me the Wi-Fi code if you don't mind very much, please? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to connect to the other Wi-Fi. I apologize. This is starting off well, though. I mean, you have to admit. At least we're getting off on the right foot.
It's actually kind of looking like healthcare.
A little bit, right? No, it's a number. It's a number.
It's a number.
It's a number. Yeah.
I think it's the number of the show.
It is. It's the, Boy, one more moment, folks, and we're going to get back on. They're on my end, Nani. They're on my end. I'm going to connect to the other shul Wi-Fi because there are two. We're back up, apparently. Okay, let's try this, and if it doesn't work, then you're going to have to watch on the other feed, which is how you feeling? All better? Oh, that's a good thing. All right, so we're back on. Guys, if my feed goes down again, then please watch on Mike Ben Melech's feed, on the Lighthouse feed, which I believe I tagged. Okay, so anyway, like we were saying, I'm going to take two different views of healthcare in the political system. We're going to discuss those views from their sides, after which time I would like to talk about what the Torah's view is outside of the political sphere. What does the Torah have to say about that? And then when we're finished, I'm going to give you a little bit of Shlomo opinions. What does Sprung think about what we've done, and perhaps different ways that might help alleviate all these issues. So, it's not working again. Fritz, can you do me a favor, please, and ask them what the thing is so I can connect to the other Wi-Fi? Thank you so much. I'm sorry to bother you. Wow, it is incredibly annoying. Okay, I see that some of our people are moving on to the other feed, so we're going to go on. Now, since the two views that we're going to talk about, the ones that are out there that I find reasonable, are as follows. They are the socialist view and the libertarian view. Okay? The socialist view and the libertarian view. If hearing the socialist view or the libertarian view is going to cause you such intense psychological and emotional anguish that you're bothered and you can't listen, then number one, I suggest that you ask yourself why that is. And secondly, I suggest that you listen doubly hard, because what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, and I think you'll find that we can talk about things even if we disagree, and we'll be fine in the end. I really believe that we will, so bear with me. Now, to begin, we are going to begin with, you got it? Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
So, the other one.
Okay, I'm going to connect to the other Wi-Fi, and we're going to see if this works, and if not, that's it. We're not going to try again, because enough is enough. Okay. Let's see if that works. Failed to connect.
Failed to connect.
All right. Well, no, it's on. It's on. At least I believe it's on. Okay, doesn't matter. We're not going to be looking again anyway. So we're going to begin with the socialist view of healthcare, or at least with how Shlomo understands the socialist view of healthcare. And we're going to begin with a caveat, which will not in any way, shape, or form change the result of the view. But it needs to be said, because I've heard many people banting around with the following phrase. They say, well, healthcare is a right. Okay, healthcare is a right. It's important to understand this. This is a fact. Whether you are a capitalist like Adams or a communist like Marx, healthcare, according to the American definition, is not a right. It's not. Now again, this will not, I see like 20 screens just went off right now. But if you've stayed, no, please allow me. It's not. It will not influence the point, but it's not a right. And here's how we can see very obviously determine that it's not a right. Well, we have rights. In this country, we have rights. In fact, we have something that we like to call the Bill of Rights, which I have a copy of over here. The first 10 amendments. So there's the right to bear arms, and the right to a free press, and the right to avoid illegal search and seizure, and freedom of religion. These are all our rights. Now, you will notice, if you look not that carefully, that all of these rights have one thing in common. One thing in common. They are things that are not allowed to be taken away from you. For example, you have the right to bear arms. Well-regulated militia. Okay, I'm not going down that road right now. You have the right to bear arms. That does not mean that the government needs to buy you a weapon. You have the right to worship the way that you choose. The government doesn't need to buy your seats for Rosh Hashanah, okay? They don't have to give you a religion. You have the right to free press. The government does not have to buy you a subscription to Newsweek. I mean, you understand the concept, right? It's obvious. So rights are things that may not be taken away from you. They are not things that have to be given to you. You don't have any of those rights. You don't have the right to food. You don't have a right to food. That have to go, plant a tree and pick an apple and give it to you. That does not exist, not true. Okay? So regardless of what your economics are, you can still be a very big fan, like we said, of like single-payer universal healthcare. That's fine. It's not going to influence that idea. But just please stop using the terminology, because I think that it's wrong at best, and it's a lie not at best. Okay? Fine. Now that we understood that, let's go and look a little bit at what I believe to be a very reasonable way of looking at healthcare from the socialist point of view. In a nutshell, and this is how I understand one of my favorite politicians, Bernie Sanders. I love the guy, and I'm not going to be as cute and cuddly as him when I say it, but anyway, this is basically the idea. The idea is, if that guy doesn't get care, he'll die. So we have to take care of him. You have a responsibility to take care of him. You have to do that. What is wrong with you if you don't do that? And if we require poverty, we have the money. We have the money. It's not like, you're living in the desert and there's no doctor. No, we have doctors. We have doctors. Now, I agree, a doctor should not be forced to treat people for free. I understand that. But we, together as a society, should pay the doctors to ensure that all of us have medical care. Because, in fact, you may have noticed, healthcare is crazy expensive. Crazy expensive. We'll talk about that soon. And everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. Not some people, not everybody needs a Lamborghini, so they're very expensive and everybody needs one. Everybody needs healthcare and it's very expensive. We should give healthcare to everybody. Now, we will need higher taxes. Don't get me wrong, we will need higher taxes. My father-in-law lives in Israel. He pays about 60% taxes, 50% income tax, give or take, and then another 10% VAT, value-added tax, which is normal throughout the Western world. And in return for that, he gets pretty good healthcare and also pretty good schools and pretty good society. And we can get better pensions, better schools, better healthcare, better pensions, better work week, better society. Yes, higher taxes, but you'll get more for them. Now, it's true, Bernie would agree. He would agree that, you're not necessarily entitled to something, but just because you're not entitled to it does not mean that I do not have a responsibility to give it to you. I, as a human being, as a citizen, as a person, if I see a guy bleeding in the street and I don't pick him up, what am I? What kind of a society do I live in? Now, if you're going to say, but Bernie, taxes, this and that, really? Tell me something. How much do we spend on defense? I don't care what you feel about defense. We spend more than the next 8 countries combined. I mean, meet me in the middle, right? Is that so terribly unreasonable? Like, we have money for so many things. How do we not have money for the health of our citizens? How do we not have money for that? It's crazy. It's crazy. Again, I don't care about what your political affiliation is. You have to deal with that issue. It's an issue. It's the truth. Fine. Now, if you're going to say that we shouldn't tax people for things, I mean, should we not have roads and public schools? Do you want people, if we don't feed them, you want them to be dying on your golf course and have rotting bodies on the 8th hole? Is that better for you? Is that the type of society you would like to live in? So now this doesn't mean that you have to agree with the socialist view. You can disagree with it, but it's not unreasonable. Okay, saying that we should have higher taxes to allocate better services to the entire society is not an unreasonable thing to say. It's not foolish. It's not stupid. No, it's terrible economics. And okay, does every Western country in the world except ours do it? Are they all crazy? They're all nuts. I mean, you go there, you visit, right? It's not like they're, driving around ramming people in the street. It's not those countries. These countries, well, it's happening in those countries, but England, Canada, Israel, France, Germany, Sweden, they're all crazy? We're the only ones that aren't crazy? I mean, come on, right? Admit it. Admit it. It's a reasonable perspective. You can disagree with it, but it's a reasonable perspective. Now, let's talk for a moment about how I see the libertarian perspective. We mentioned that no one thinks that doctors should be forced to treat people for free. Lucky you, right? If somebody is sitting there on the floor and you're a doctor and you can treat him, and I say, hey, I'm going to force you to treat him. No, you can't wake the doctor up, drag him out of his house in the middle of the night, and force him to work for free. No one thinks that. Okay. Well, if you don't believe that the government can force me to treat him for free, then why do you believe that the government can force you to pay him to treat him? Let me say that again. My friend the doctor, you agree, deserves to be paid for his work. And you're not going to force him to treat someone for free. But you're going to force me to pay him to treat him. How is that better? The doctor gets paid, and you took it from me. That's what you're doing. The libertarian position is actually, it's funny because it's probably the most intellectually consistent. It doesn't make it the nicest, but it's very, very consistent. Why should I do that? What right do you have to take from my pocket and go all Robin Hood, or, take the money from the Tyrells and give it to the Iron Bank? No, you can do that. It's called stealing, right? It's called stealing. Now, no, but it's going to be better for you. It's going to be better for you. Don't you understand? If you give me 60% taxes, which we know that that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, no one thinks that we could have universal healthcare without 60% taxes. It's just a fact. So for 60% taxes, I am going to give you better services. I'm going to give you more good things than you would have had if you kept 100% of your money. Well, I think that's a great deal. I think that's...
Socialist side, isn't it?
Yes, I'm saying the socialist is telling now the libertarian, I'm going to give you more. You're going to be better off for it. Give me 60%, I'll give you 150% of what you would have had otherwise. It sounds like a great deal. The libertarian's response is, I get to say what I want to invest in or not. It's a great deal, wonderful deal. You know who gets to decide if he wants to take a deal or not? Me, I decide. I can opt in and I can opt out. So you're telling me, okay, let me just get this straight. You're gonna tax me at 60%, right? So January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, you may as well throw in for like sales tax, okay? So 7 months a year, I'm working for free. Not for free, but for you. And then you determine which services I am going to get in return and how much of them. I'm not okay with that. Why do you get to do that? So saying that it's better is irrelevant to the libertarian, because the libertarian's issue is that he doesn't have a choice. You are forcing him to do something at the point of a gun. Now, if you say, but, you have a social responsibility. You're a human being, you're a mensch. You're a billionaire. You're a billionaire. You're living on North Bay Road in a $30 million mansion, gorgeous, right? I mean, you're not going to give that guy a drink? You have a responsibility. The libertarian's response to that is very simple. You don't get to legislate what you think is a social responsibility on me. You don't get to do that. Now, does the libertarian think that the guy in the $30 million mansion who won't give the guy $1 is a jerk? Yeah, huge jerk, massive jerk. But I will march to defend your right to be a jerk. That's the idea. Now,
isn't that the basis of American society, that a person decides what can be considered? I mean, if it's not outright harming another individual,
right,
he gets to decide what his social responsibilities are to another.
That's exactly what the libertarian platform is. Other people would argue then that means that you can't have roads or public education either.
Well, that would be different than enforcing actual health care, and that's different.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference would be in regards to health care for a person's actual health. Then we can understand there are certain instances in which somebody doesn't have the ability to provide for themselves in terms of health. So it's a life and death certain situation.
So you're saying there's more of a reason for a libertarian to give to healthcare than to education?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're making the case stronger, not weaker. I mean, I thought the response to the libertarian's point of view, meaning the libertarian says, I don't have to pay for anything that I don't want to, it's up to me. The response is, okay, well then you have to take away all public spending. By the way, with the exceptions perhaps of defense and infrastructure. The libertarians would agree about defense and infrastructure, but they would have a far smaller one. But if we're going to keep the issue on healthcare, so you have two positions which are wildly at odds with each other, but both very, very reasonable. They're both reasonable. The reason they're reasonable is because they're not contradicting each other at all. They're not contradicting each other. They're flying at two totally separate wavelengths. They're using different measurements, different barometers, different metrics to determine what we should and shouldn't do. One person is saying, this is how we should spend our tax money because we want to be a very responsible society, a socially responsible society. And the other side is saying, social responsibility is wonderful and it's your personal decision and leave me alone. They're both reasonable positions. It's important to recognize that no matter how strongly you feel about the issue. Recognize that neither of those two people is crazy or out to lunch. They have a leg to stand on. You know, what the rest of the Democrats and Republicans are doing, I really have no idea, but let's leave them out of here. So the third thing that we have ventured out to do is say, well, what does the Torah think about this? What does the Torah think about socialized healthcare? So I'm going to tell you what Shlomo thinks the Torah thinks. I can't really tell you what the Torah thinks about it, but I'll tell you my understanding of what the Torah has to say about that. So I want to begin with the Gemara. It's actually a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah in Gittin. The Mishnah says, what happens if a person from your community, God forbid, gets kidnapped Right? You get kidnapped by the local duke. You know, the king called the duke and said, "Hey, Duke, I want to go on another crusade, and you're going to have to give me $2 million for my army." And the duke is like, "Yo, king, I don't have $2 million. What am I going to do? Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go kidnap the rabbi, and I'm going to tell the Jewish community, give me $2 million, and I'll give him back." Now, if this sounds like a stupid, crazy idea, the answer is Google it. Okay? Because yes, it's been done, and it's been done multiple times. You know why it's done multiple times? Because it works. In fact, it was done so often that the Mishnah talks about it. Okay? The Mishnah talks about it because it's a problem. So here's what Mishnah says. Mishnah says, and I quote, Mishnah says, the Mishnah can't read the Mishnah if you don't have Wi-Fi. Oh, there it is. Okay. Ein podin es hashvuyin yeser al kedei demein. You do not redeem captives for more than they are worth. There is a mitzvah to redeem captives. You understand, when you're talking about redeeming a Jew from captivity in the local duke, it's life or death. Life or death. Tower of London style. So it's life or death. So the Mishnah says it's a huge mitzvah. You have to. You must. Social responsibility. You must redeem captives. But not more than they're worth.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a social responsibility.
It's a law. We won't call it a social responsibility. The Mishnah. The Mishnah says you have to do it. Mishnah says you have to do it. And it says, but not more than they're worth. Well, you see what the problem is already, yes? The Mishnah unfortunately neglected to tell me how to measure that. Oops, right? An oversight, I'm sure. Now the Gemara says, we know. Oh, no. That's not that. No, we could talk about a ruchin after. That's something else. You're talking about damim on the slave market and erech, which is, it's not that. It's something else. But that's beyond the purview of the speech. So the Gemara says two different reasons for why this is true. There's an argument in the Talmud. When the Mishnah says that you're not supposed to spend money to redeem the life of a Jew who was captured if it's more than he is worth, as well, why? Two reasons. Number one, because you're going to encourage more terrorism, right? If every time the terrorist kidnaps your guy, you ransom him back, he's going to kidnap two, right? Because maybe they're not as stupid as you think they are. And that's the first reason, the Gemara. And the other reason of the Gemara is because you can't overburden the community. You can't burden the community. It's like, okay, they ransom the rabbi, we need $2 million, and they knock on your door and say, "Hey man, I need $20,000. Like, what? What do you mean $20,000? I need $20,000 right now to take a mortgage on your house. You have to give it to me, the rabbi." Small aside, there was a very unfortunate story, this sad story, a little while ago that there was a Jew from the local community that got into some legal trouble, and I got a call from a friend of mine. And he goes, "Okay, Shlomo, so I need you to give me $18,000. So first I laughed and I thought he was joking. Like straight face, like, okay, so obviously I need you to give me $18,000. And I'm thinking, ha, you want 180? And he's like, "No, what do you mean? This is going to cost X, Y, and Z. I need $18,000. And I looked at him like he fell off the moon. I go, "Who do you think you're talking to?" Like, hello? Yeah, rabbi on my forehead? I mean, like, what? What? But that's the idea, right? You're gonna break the community. The community can't shell out $2 million every time some dude takes the rabbi. Now, what is the difference? You say, "Well, Rabbi, why are the people in the Gemara arguing about this? It sounds like a silly argument." I'll tell you why. There's a very simple something we call the nafkamina, the difference, a practical difference. The practical difference is as follows. Let's say that you are a very wealthy person and your best friend was kidnapped. You can buy him back on your own. So if the issue is that it's a burden on the community, it's not. Here's a check, my friend, boom, I get him back. If it's the first reason, which is that they're going to do it more and it will harm the community, then the fact that you can buy him back doesn't help, you're harming the community. Okay, so that's why they argue on that. But that doesn't matter. The point that we get from this mission, the reason that I'm bringing this in, is because the Talmud is understanding from a verse that says, "Do not stand on your brother's blood." You have an obligation, a commandment to save your brother's life. You have a commandment to save your brother's life up until his value. Without determining what the value is or how I'm even supposed to possibly figure out what his value was. Very, very strange. Okay. Now, that is the law by the redemption of captives. Now let's talk a little bit about charity. The Rambam, Maimonides, codifies this based upon a verse. How much money do I have to give a poor person? A poor person knocks on my door. How much do I have to give him? You know what the law is? Whatever he needs. Whatever he needs. So, if he needs clothing, gotta give him clothing. If he needs food, gotta give him food. If he needs to get married, you have to help him get married. True story. It's the law. It's the law. So, what do I have to get him? Whatever he needs. One second. But Torah, what does need mean? Who determines what he needs? Like, what if he needs steak? What if he needs foie gras? What if he needs, like, how do you do that?
I think that's a very easy metric system to be able to regulate. I mean, you would see the guys, I mean, it would be very tedious.
So we shall see. That's what I want to develop exactly how we would be able to look into it. But the question is, it doesn't tell you. It doesn't give you a yardstick by which to measure. Furthermore, it seems to be totally at loggerheads with the previous rule. You told me on the one hand that I have to save people's lives up until what they're worth. And now you're telling me that I have to give everyone whatever they need. But one second. What you need exceeds what you're worth. What do I do then? This is a problem. How do you mesh both of those Torah values together simultaneously? That's a problem. And then remember, we had the other issue that the Torah doesn't specify a process of how you're supposed to determine what a person's worth. Well, let's think about that for a second. Do you think that the Mishnah forgot to tell you how to compute what a person's worth? Do you believe that? Do you believe that the Torah forgot to tell you what the term necessity means? That's ridiculous, right? That's laughable. So why did the Torah leave it open? It's very simple. Because the Torah is not mandating a specific set of things that you're supposed to do. It's not mandating a specific process, a specific continuum. That's not what it's mandating. You know what it's mandating? A result. It's mandating a result. Which means, how are you going to attain that result? I don't know. That's going to be different in every time, in every community throughout the eons. The Torah's not going to measure that for you. It would be laughable for the Torah to measure it for you. So you must determine.
So hypothetically, if there was never really an issue with people being kidnapped and then being ransomed, then apparently the mitzvah would still be, even if they're worth more, even if the ransom is more than what they're worth, then you would probably be obligated to redeem them. And the only reason why right now you're no longer obligated to redeem them is because it became a problem which was burdening the community. But if it wasn't something which was burdening the community, then who says that one would not be obligated to be able to do so? I mean, the Torah is taking into consideration the money of the community, what the community is able to handle.
Right. So that's the answer, right?
But if it wasn't such a problem, then you would be obligated.
But I don't understand.
It would be an obligation.
I don't understand.
So
If the issue is what the community can handle, then why does it matter if it happens often or seldom?
Because if it's something which happens often, then we're not going to see any, like you were saying, we're not going to really see a solution to the end, because the result is always going to.
You're breaking it now. It's $10 million, and that means everyone has to sell their house right now and take their kids out of private school right now.
No, because now there would be an issue because this is something which is a continuous thing, and it happens over and over.
According to the first answer, maybe. I mean, I don't. Certainly, according to the second one, it wouldn't be there. But I don't. I think we're going to go around in circles on it. So again, how do we balance what you're worth and what you need? It's impossible. So you understand this is exactly the argument that the politicians are having. They're just not naming it like that. So firstly, we have to admit the issue. We said in the beginning that you can only fix things by understanding issues more deeply, which means that we need to define concretely two words: necessity. We have to define the parameters of necessity, and we have to define the parameters of burden. Those are the two things that we have to do. This is the actual point that the country is trying to understand right now. But we don't frame it like that. Why don't we frame it like that? Because both sides are they're pulling a Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. What do I mean by that? I mean that We use necessity interchangeably with the word plan, and we use non-viability interchangeably with the word non-necessary. Meaning, there are people in the country that say, we have a necessity. The necessity is there are people that need health care. So that's the plan. The plan is now they get health care. Well, necessity has nothing to do with a plan. And then there are people on the other side that say, that plan is not viable. Therefore, it's not a necessity. And therefore, you will ignore healthcare as we've done forever until recently. Both sides are doing something rather silly. Necessity does not mean a plan. What's that? No, I didn't at all. I'm saying that they're... exactly. I'm saying that they're framing the question incorrectly. The necessity does not equal the plan, and the fact that no plan has yet happened does not mean you can stop thinking about it because it's no longer necessary. We need to recognize that we have to balance necessity and burden from a different angle and see exactly if we can bridge any of these gaps between necessity and burden. So before we do this, let's have a little history course. And granted, I'm not a physician, and I'm not an economist, and I'm not a historian, and I'm not all that knowledgeable about anything. But certain things are at least a little bit self-evident to me, and I would like to share those thoughts with you, and then you'll tell me if you think I'm wrong. So, why is it that all of a sudden we have this problem? Where was this problem in 1860? Where was this problem in 1960? The answer is it wasn't a problem in 1960. Well, why not?
Because wealthy people had healthcare,
No.
poor people didn't.
No. The reason it wasn't a problem in 1960 is because, and even perhaps a little bit after that, because what was medicine? What was a lot of medicine? I see Richard doesn't like it. He's about to pounce down my throat. Medicine, for most of the world, for most of history, was a guy with a stethoscope and a black bag. Not always, right? There were surgeons. There were bloodletters, there were barbers. Yes, it was. That's right. That's right. The leech. Yeah, they use leeching. Yeah. Are they? Back in fashion, really? It's awesome. I gotta try that. Yeah.
But also back in the 60s, before 1960, medical care as a proportion to your personal wealth or your cash availability was much more reasonable.
Right. That's.
A doctor visit might be $5, so you didn't need.
I'm going exactly there.
Oh,
I'm going
sorry.
there. No, it's fine. I'm going down that road.
With
Yeah.
all due respect, Teddy Roosevelt proposed national health insurance because he understood it was a problem in 1910.
He was a man ahead of his time,
Okay.
and he wrote a hell of a moose.
So, I mean, it was understood to be a problem, but it wasn't as big as other problems.
Or as pervasive or enough to,
Well, I mean, they were just, from the point of view of the people, in leadership positions at the time, they were more important problems.
Fair enough.
Not that it wasn't.
Right. But fair enough. The magnitude of the problem now, shall we say. So if most of the time a doctor visit, like you say, was very cheap, there's a reason why it was very cheap. And in fact, it was so cheap that if a person couldn't afford to pay it, this is what would happen, and everybody knows this, and everyone in this room probably remembers it with the exception of maybe you because you're very young. The guy who couldn't pay. So the doctor goes to your house and visits you for free, and then you give him some kind of a token. It could be a cake, right? I mean, I had this with some of my clients, even in the dermatology. There are many of them will take pro bono clients, and they'll come with, a dish to show their appreciation or a beautiful card or something like that, and that happens all the time. And if not, you know who would take care of it? The rabbi, the church. They would take care of this. Oh, well, what happened? Oh, lobbyists! Lobbyists! There's a million and one things that create healthcare that cause it to skyrocket out of control. But there's a very simple thing which wasn't the case before, which is the case now, and it's just the most obvious issue: technology. Exactly, technology. So let's talk about. Let's say you have. We said before that no one thinks that a doctor should be forced to treat for free. We all accept that. So let's say you have a radiation oncologist. I mean, he's going to do a gamma knife procedure. We all agree that he should get paid. And you know what? He should get paid well, right? I mean, because the guy literally went to school for like 20 years. He did not go to a party or talk to a girl for a decade. He had to work his butt off, and he left school $1 million in debt. Okay, so that we all agree that guy deserves to make some money. We're cool with that, right? We're cool with that. Even my friend Bernie is cool with that. We're all cool with Dr. Schwartz, radiation oncologist, making his money for gamma knife procedure. Here's the thing we're forgetting. You notice that in order for him to run the gamma knife, it's not just the radiation oncologist. You need 2 technicians, a nuclear physicist, and a medical assistant in addition to the gamma knife. We forget to do it in a minute. The radiation oncologist, all of them went to school, and all of them have debt, and all of them need to get paid, and all of that is a joke. That's pennies, right? It's the gamma knife. The gamma knife costs billions of dollars. And it's very simple as to why. Very simple, right? Oh, this pill costs 70 cents for Pfizer. Yeah, but the first one cost $1 billion. The first one cost $1 billion. And then all the other drugs that they tried and failed, that this has to pay for. So, well, they deserve to get paid. But of course, they also deserve to get paid. No problem. They spent $1 billion. They should make $3 billion. Let's think about something, okay, very, very simply. If I were to say to you, hey man, give me $1 billion, finance my venture, I'm creating a drug. If it works, you'll make $2 billion for your $1 billion. If it doesn't, you make nothing. Who's gonna fund your drug? The answer is ding, ding, ding. Nobody. Nobody's giving you $1 billion for a drug to make $3 billion. They're giving you $1 billion to make $100 billion. Now, this is what drives the technology of the gamma knife and of chemo and of everything. Profit, money, that's what drives it. Well.
You're forgetting one other factor.
What's that?
Liability.
Oh, for sure, that's, yeah.
And the amount of insurance that they have to pay.
All true.
So that ultimately, now, if I do a small procedure for $5 and I get sued for $50 million, because I made one mistake.
Yes. That's true. And there are 101 ancillary things around it which also drive the costs up, from anything from mismanagement to administrative costs to, there are so many things that add to the cost, but I want to like blow all those away and pretend they don't exist and just concentrate on like the bedrock issue which can never go away regardless of how well you manage it. Regardless of how well you manage it, innovation is by definition and by necessity expensive. It has to be. So like we said, healthcare is crazy expensive, and everybody needs it, right? We're right back where we started. Well, see here, we're going to control the costs. You cannot control the costs. It's impossible to control the costs. Why? Let's look at this very simply. Let's say that right now there's no cure for, I don't know, meningitis, okay? So there's no cure for meningitis. Now somebody goes and creates a cure for meningitis. Well, the guy with meningitis needs the cure. Now we have to roll in whatever money in order to buy that drug which didn't exist yesterday. Your cost will only go up and always go up. You've got a massive Ponzi scheme. It's a problem.
It's because it's a monopoly.
No, it's not a monopoly game. The only thing that drives the field further is profit, and by definition, if you are entitled to every new drug which comes out, you need more money all the time. You need more money all the time. So it's not that the system is broken, the concept is the problem. The system's not the problem, the concept is the problem.
What concept?
The concept of we are going to control the cost at a certain level. You can't control the cost at a certain level. You can only control these costs that we have now at a certain level. But tomorrow, they're going to cure AIDS, and they're going to cure cancer, and they're going to cure, right? So this...
Start buying a more expensive disease.
Exactly! Which they're already doing, right? Which they're already doing. So even your best friend, the socialist, will agree that if someone creates a magic procedure that can cure cancer, but it costs $50 million, the biggest socialist in the world, he'll say, well, we can't afford it. But why not? He doesn't need it any less than the $5,000 operation. But bang, where do you draw that line? How do you get out of this problem? By the way, this is why Sweden unplugs people, right? Because they're paying. They're paying. So if they're paying, they're unplugging. It's very, very, very simple. So let's return to the seemingly impossible quotients. We have necessity and we have burden. Let's talk about necessity. How do you measure necessity? Well, there's a question: when and where? When and where? The person we'll call it meningitis. It doesn't matter. Pick a disease, any disease. The person who has meningitis, which was cured today, did he need it any less in 1950? Why didn't he get the gamma knife in 1950? because it didn't exist. Didn't exist. Oh, so you're telling me that necessity is dependent upon what exists. Whatever exists, that's the necessity. So that your necessity is a moving target, which will grow and grow and grow and grow and grow forever.
That's exactly the point I was trying to bring out in regards to redeeming the person. I mean, the necessity of redeeming them will depend on whether or not it will,
Hold it. So, when you talk about necessity, here's one way that you can measure it. And again, I'm not saying this is the only way or even a good way, but I think by discussing the issue, it will help. Should necessity be universal or should necessity be personal? Meaning, do we look at necessity, what does every human being need? Or do I look at it, what do you need? Every human being in the world, on the planet, doesn't matter where, doesn't matter what continent, they need food, they need shelter, they need water. This is stuff that they have. Every human being has exactly that same necessity. You, the personal human being, might need a topical ointment for psoriasis. You might need... That's you. That's not universal necessity. So one way to measure necessity is by clicking stop on universality. For example, one way to look at it. Not telling you where it is, where the line is, just an example. Let's talk about how do I determine if something is too expensive, too burdensome on the community. How do you measure burden? I'll tell you a very simple way of measuring burden. Does it change your lifestyle or not? Easy way. Again, I'm not saying where you're going to draw the line on too much and too little, but for example, you require a graded taxation system. That's obvious. You can't have roads if you tax everyone at the same flat tax. It doesn't work. Well, that means that a person who makes whatever it is, $400,000, $500,000, we're going to tax them at the max rate. Are you telling me, do you really believe that a person who makes $500,000 a year is the same as a person who makes $10 million a year? Is that the same to you? What are you smoking? There are people that made $300 million last year. That's the same? So you're going to tell me you're okay with changing from $50,000 a year to $100,000 and $100 to $150 and $150 to $250 and anything above $250 is this. You're not differentiating between a guy who made $250 and Mark Cuban? That's nuts. Because hitting this guy at 35% is very different than hitting that guy at 35%. So the definition of burden is, does it make a practical difference in your life outside of a number? That's a question that I think could be dealt with. Well, in my humble opinion, and I'm not going to solve healthcare in 10 minutes, but in my humble opinion, I think we're going about it totally wrong. Totally wrong. First of all, the government's never going to solve healthcare for the very simple reason is government very rarely solves anything. But you know what might help? What if the government were to offer like $1 billion as a prize to whomever can solve healthcare? Now, what does that look like, right? Just for example, just riff with me for a minute, okay? I know I'm crazy, riff with me for a minute. What if the government were to say, we're going to give $1 billion to whomever it is that can get 70 senators to agree with this plan, and then put it online? Well, why not? Why not? Well, we can't solve it, right? You know who, by the way, you know who I'm convinced can solve it? Elon Musk can solve it, okay? Elon Musk and Sergey Brin and Jeff Bezos, these are the guys that should be solving healthcare, not Paul Ryan and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Give it to the people that fix everything else, okay? If they can take us like into outer space and figure out how to get me like drones to deliver my rugalach, these are the people who need to be solving healthcare. That's the only way to do it. These are the people. Now, you could look at a situation as follows. Remember, the Torah says you have to balance two things. Number one, you cannot be an overburden on the community. You're not allowed to do that. Number two, okay, I can't burden you, that's fine. Now go and find the answer. Go and find the answer. You're going to be looking at some sort of a hybrid system no matter where you look. Perhaps, as a place to begin as follows. Things that are absolute universal necessities can be covered. And in fact, for the most part, they'll be covered rather cheaply. That's not what's expensive in healthcare. Again, there are some things that are, of course. But stitching people up, suturing them, ER medicine, for the most part, that's not where the money is. Where does it get really expensive? Disease and end-of-life care and major
That's a
procedures.
necessity at that point.
Yes, but it's not a universal necessity. It's a personal necessity.
Right.
So if the government were to say, we will cover universal necessity the same way we cover food. We give you food stamps, everyone has a dollar amount or whatever this is covered. This is covered.
But I
Now
don't
there
go
are-
to the ER, so why do I have to pay for that? I'm devil's advocate, but
Mhm.
I'm not getting stitched for anything. I haven't broken anything. Why am I paying for all of you if I'm not using it? It's the same thing.
Because you
Right,
could
excellent.
fall and break something,
I
and
could,
Yeah.
and God forbid I could get cancer and need
So
this.
I agree.
That's the thing.
I agree. And the libertarian who would tell you that we shouldn't have public schools will also argue that. You can take it that far.
Right.
And you could. And again, it's reasonable and it's philosophically consistent. The issue is we can do that very cheaply and easily. So you don't have to have people dying in the streets for that. Now, there are two other categories of medicine that we're leaving out, which are the big ones, right? Number one, the things that people develop, the diseases that they develop, and number two, pre-existing conditions. Well, pre-existing conditions have to be covered. How could you not have a safety net? How could you not have a safety net for something that someone didn't develop and didn't cause on their own? Is it debatable libertarian? Absolutely, you can debate it, 100%. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. Pre-existing conditions, there's nothing you can do about it. It has to be covered. But for something that's not universal that you developed, whether it's anything from cancer to MS, anything, well, buy fire insurance. If you own a house and you don't own fire insurance and your house burns down, you're screwed. If you chose to buy fire insurance and you didn't have a fire, good for you.
So buy MS insurance.
No, buy medical insurance for things that might develop. Not universal need. Anything that's not universal need, something that a person may or may not develop, you buy insurance for. Now, if you don't have, and because you did not buy the insurance, if you do not have, then you have the following options: charity and GoFundMe. GoFundMe, and some will win and some will lose. But you know what will happen eventually? Things will get cheaper with time like they always do. When the thing comes out, it's very expensive. Someone else will find a way to do it cheaper. The MRIs are like pennies now. They were a lot of money 20 years ago, like a lot of money. That's the way it works. Now, is this nice? Is it going to be the same for everybody? No, it's not going to be the same for everybody. Life is not fair at all. It's not. Life isn't fair. The question is what we can do about it. So let's recap very, very quickly from the top. Number one, regardless of where you stand politically and where you stand economically, healthcare is not a right. According to the understanding of the United States of America, it's not a right. Now, there are different ways to look at it. You can look at a socialized model, which says that we as a society, it makes a lot of sense to us to allocate our resources to healing our citizens rather than the other things that we're arbitrarily deciding to spend them on. And not only is this a better idea, it's a nobler idea, which it is. Libertarian position is you don't get to rob me in the name of nobility. And therefore, even though you feel this is a social responsibility, and I can even agree with you that it's a social responsibility, but my charity dollars are my charity dollars, and you don't get to tell me. It's the libertarian position. The Torah's position, as best I understand it, is that you absolutely may not be an undue burden on the community. And you absolutely must give everyone what they need. And that means find a way. Find a way. Figure it out. Create the systems. Raise the money. We have philanthropists. I mean, again, it's like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is giving away billions of dollars to very good causes. Very, very good causes. I'm waiting for someone to give $3 billion and just put it out there in the world and watch some 12-year-old kid with a computer and a bottle of Tic Tacs solve it. Because they will eventually. And now with the information, you know what the best part of the internet is? Well, one of the best parts anyway. Obviously, the NFL is the best part because you get a Sunday ticket, you could be at the barbecue and still watch. That's a different story. But the other best part of the internet is that you can't hide information anymore. You can't hide information, which means if the 12-year-old kid has a great idea and he floats it out there, the politicians can't pretend it's not there. It'll get picked up. It'll get picked up. We're not finding it because we're not looking for it. The drug companies aren't looking for it because they're making money. The politicians aren't looking for it because they're trying to make their constituents happy. No one is looking for a healthcare fix. No one. And the Torah is telling you, you can't burn the community, and you can't let people suffer. Fix it. The only way to fix it is to understand the issues, look them dead in the eye, debate them, discuss them, and hopefully, God willing, with the help of the Lord and Elon Musk, we will solve healthcare. And I apologize so much if I hurt any of your feelings. Peace and love.
So there's another passage which says,